And thank you so much for being here. It's 4 a.m. in Peru for those watching, and it's absolutely amazing. We were just having a quick conversation about how passion takes you to do different things, and even if it means waking up at 4 a.m. to have a chat with somebody, it's absolutely inspiring. So thank you so much, Luis, for coming and
No
being
problem.
part of
I'm here.
this.
Thank you much for having me too.
To kick off, the first thing I'm going to say is a lot of people are going to be viewing this and at a later date, of course, when we post it. So the first thing I'd like to ask is, can you introduce yourself and what you do at Allpa and what your mission is?
Okay, thank you, Pavid. Well, my name is Luis Heller. In Allpa, I am the administrator of the Allpa. I do also human resources, and I am the representative of fair trade, the movement in Allpa. And I had the connection with organizations in Peru. They are members of WFTO. We are like 20 organizations now. It's the biggest platform in Latin America of members. We're growing. There is increasing interest in fair trade in Peru and I guess in different countries too. And Allpa is a Peruvian trader, fair trade organization. The works I was telling Susana, we work with about 60 workshops from different lines, jewelry, textiles, ceramics, wooden mirror frames, and we work with them. They are separate entities. They are family workshops, artisans, or are small, very small artisans workshops, no? But they are independent to us. This is what I do in Allpa, no?
That's absolutely inspiring, very incredible. And as we go forward, of course, in the conversation, we'll learn more about Allpa, more about your experience and expertise. And I think to begin with, just to get a bit of context, because being in different parts of the world, we don't know much about other cities and other countries and how things work around there. So I would love for you to be able to paint a very short picture of what it is like in Peru in the current economic climate and in terms of the adaptations of fair trade and sustainable models of business.
Okay, well, Peru is a Latin American country. The beauty about Peru, like I guess every country they have their own beautiness in what is geographically. No, Peru has 3 regions very important. The coastline, the mountains, and the Amazons, the jungle. No, and that makes a very diversified country. They are, and also it's a mixture of Spaniard when they came 100 years ago with the pre-Columbian people, and then we are kind of the last thing I heard is that we are 40% of Creole people, no? The mix of and Peru is a mix. Even Lima, who is from the 31 million people in Peru, 11 million are in Lima. They are in Lima, and when they have influence Lima and Peru with the different aspects of their own lives, no? That means culture, different cultures, of course, no? And also food. There is famous Peru for the food. I have friends in Australia who goes to Peruvian restaurants. They are not really Peruvians, so they're kind of a good thing. Economically, Peru exports based in mining. We bring a lot of tourists to Peru. I'm sorry, agricultural things, and maybe that is the weakness of the economic reality in Peru, because everything is exported. No, a lot of things are exported, and then when it's an issue like COVID now, there was a moment, when there was no exports because of the pandemic situation, create a lot of issues for the big population. No. COVID-19 has devastated a lot of companies, small companies. That means that a lot of people have no work. A lot of youth that hasn't had work at the moment. The poverty rate from last year to now is like a 40%. So that is a bigger issue for us fair traders, because how we deal with that and we contribute to the development not only of the country as a whole, but these areas of people who they need to work. And so it's not easy. That is not easy. Peru is not in a good conditions economically. I guess it's not the only one. There are parts of the world in Asia or Africa or Latin America or United States or Europe, they are in condition. This is a global economic, health, and socially, crisis. So I think war in this time, war in the same thing. The only people who are not in a problem is the people who, the 1%, and also the 10%, no? But the rest are in trouble. Middle class, so this is difficult. As an Allpa, with the conditions of COVID and our business, is there was not really bad as we thought. The way the Allpa works with fair trade organization, but at the same time work with conventional market. But we all do it under principles of fair trade. So there is a growing interest in consumers all over the world in social responsible and fair trade too products. So that, and also the good thing in our case is that these organizations or companies sell online. So that make them kind of survive the conditions of COVID-19, and at the same time, it was good for us because we really, in comparison with the prior year, 2019, the sales of Allpa were only less 20%. In March, we thought it was like 60, it's gonna be 60%. It was, but now it's different. I think the core group is still there. There are some people who left, they left because they were for fear. No, we to a point until June, we kept the people and the salaries and everything. We didn't touch that. It's our commitment. Very concerned about their health, very concerned about the conditions, no, and also the conditions of the workshops, no, too, no, because it was the more vulnerable people are not only for health issues or old, no, but also for the living conditions, no. You ask them, okay, wash your hands, soap. It's easy to say than done. In Lima, 2 million people doesn't have potable water. And then you ask them, okay, if you sick, you wash your hands to prevent, but they didn't provide these things for them to protect it, no? But this is part of the struggle, no? To work with them, no? And very connected with our employees, very connected with the artisans, no? Created prevention systems with them. No, one of the first organizations, to be honest, in Peru to present a plan of prevention was us. We shared it with WFTO, they translated, and this is it. No, you cannot, when a crisis comes, you need to be given an organized response as a team effort, not one or two, smart people. It's just a team effort, no? I think this is some of the plus things that we have in Allpa. I don't know if that kind of concentrates the answer. I'm sorry to go long.
No, absolutely. All of this is very important. And, you've touched on so many interesting topics and ideas along the way. And I'm going to sort of try to unpack them as we go forward. And just to get a bit of clarity on this, what exactly do you identify as the business model for Allpa? Is it a social enterprise, or is it a for-profit enterprise that practices with purpose? So what sort of business model do you identify with? And obviously, like you mentioned earlier, you follow the World Fair Trade Organization's 10 principles while you're at it. So how do you work that out, and what works best, and how have you decided that this is the model that we're going to follow?
The Allpa's beginnings was a part of, Allpa was part of a non-governmental organization. The purpose, even in our constitution, said the idea is to provide sustainability to small farmers. That was the beginning, small farmers. And then we look at the ceramics or at the artisans part of these farmers, and we said, okay, we can do about this, work with them to create jobs and to be sustainable in sales. First, we did it in Peru, but there was not much resources coming to the farmers or to the artisans from Peru. We said, let's connect with the global market and see how can we do to sell and export the products. That was the beginning of that. So we were part of this organization, IPIT, Institution of Technology and Development. And then with the part, we were, because basically we were kind of start separating because it was a totally different organization than from us because it was oriented to farmers and we were now oriented to artisans. And then, but we are a private company with a social purpose. You know, basically to us, growth is not the profit. Growth is how can we make, I repeat constantly this, but it is show them to people, to artists how to fish, don't give them the fish. So part is the growth. We invest a lot in innovation in the workshops, not to create industrial workshops, but to help in the improving of the innovate designs or innovate ways of production, the line of production. No, if a ceramic was done always by hand, we said, why we don't bring the speed tool, you know, that can help create more artifacts, more ceramics. So we did that in ceramics in the north part of Peru. So, and then what we do, we invest part of our, what we get after profit, we invested in loans with very small interest or not interest at all, because it's convenient for us to invest in the workshops because that will grow and develop. But the most important thing that they need to capitalize themselves, not only to pay salaries, but to buy the land where the workshop is, you know, buy better tools, you know, introduce new techniques, consistently try to get them orders. Very important. We invest good money in go to international fairs every year, like we do it in Frankfurt, Germany, every Friday, every February, you know, every year presenting products. For us, innovation, design, present our products to the market, fair trade market or conventional market, will guarantee, in our opinion, that the orders go smooth and the orders go sustainable. Sustainability for us is in the case, because we're traders. We are traders. We are not, but we are fair traders. So what is gonna be is we grow, the artisan grow. It's not one organization only. You know, I can give you examples of that later in the conversation, but when we talk about social enterprise, I talk to Erinch, you know, the CE, and we talk about what is a social enterprise really. And social enterprise is more than it's a definition, but also it's a way of working, you know. We are not Coca-Cola, we are not a small business. The major things is the associates of this company and the growth of their money and their package. If we don't see a workshop growth, is something wrong. We review every year the salaries or the prices of the products. We want to make sure that they are paid what they're supposed to pay, no? And also if an artisan workshop has grown a bit and have 10 employees or workers, we have to make sure to see that they're paying their workers also at least the minimum wage, the legal minimum wage in that country, on Peru, no? Basically is that they are safety conditions, we monitor them, we work with them really more than go and said, oh, well, you need to do this and that. We say, how can we work together in an improvement of life of you and also the family and the workers, if you have workers, no?
Yeah, that's fabulous. You work on shared value, you're working on growing together and extending your impact. And that's absolutely fantastic because that sets the setting. I mean, it gives us a good picture of how Alpa works, what you all do, and what's the level of engagement with these artisans and workshops that you talk about. And actually, on that note, I'm just going to draw a little bit of a tangent here and try to ask you about you say you work with all these workshops. So what are the main challenges for them as communities, as independent artists, as grassroots level artisans who have, these really dying arts and crafts that often tend to be over industrialized and all of those things. So I understand that you work very deeply with a lot of different communities and different settings. So what are the kinds of challenges that they face in terms of, for example, health, employment? You did touch on a few things because, like you said, the pandemic has created so many different disruptions in the ways of life that we knew. And one of the things that we've often talked about, and I did speak of with a few others, was the fact that normally you'd have a safety net. So, a big business would have a certain reserve in terms of safety net. Some governments also provide a safety net to their citizens and residents. But what happens is a lot of times artisans and people who are independent generally may or may not have that level of comfort and safety. And that's when organizations like yours are redefining that norm, rethinking how we can take care of everybody and ensure that they continue to get, at least a good quality life and are able to manage their standard of life. So what are the main challenges that they generally come across and that you work with?
Well, depends of the region where this workshop is. In the coastline, most of them work only in the artisan craft, no? They do that. In the Andes, they work in the land and they do some work with handcrafted. And that was a big challenge for us in the beginning when we start working. When we start working with artisans, we look at, there's a profile of what artisan we want to learn. No, is like to be trained, fair, to be fair with in condition open. We said they wanted to improve the conditions of their life too, and also independency is very important for us because we don't want them to depend on us. It's a point when you said, okay, I will fly away, and some of them have done it, some of them not, because this is there are a lot of contradictions. One of the contradictions that they have or they confront is that most of their kids, because we have 35 years of life in Allpa, no? So most of their kids now, they want to do something else. So they don't want to continue with that. So to keep the craft alive, they need to keep struggling and convince their kids that this is a good way of living too. Of course, beautiful, because handcrafts are beautiful all over the world. So, but they need to work hard in that, and to convince them to a state, you can say it's a beautiful thing to a point, because you need to feed your own family that the kids will have. For this is so important for us to make sure that we make this workshop sustainable. For this, we participate in international fairs. For this, we create products every year. For this, we work with the clients to see, what are the trends in the market now in handcrafted, to kind of put this workshop, this craft in something that we do. No, there is trade, no, fair trade, fair trade. So in the government in Peru, there's no safety net like is maybe in Europe. Well, the United States is no safety net more than a little bit of money. But you know what? But that's finished. And the safety net for them is the work. This is no other way of being safe economically, no? So for this is so important to make sure that what they do is done in a way that creates impact in the market too. Allpa is an organization where innovation in the production and innovation in design is very important because it's what it is now in the market. We don't sell plastic, at all. We sell products that are kind of connected with earth, and but we present it in a modern design. That makes us, and now it's the online thing that we are going ahead with the online, because it's important. It's what the consumers are looking for. The consumers who think about social responsibility. The consumers who think that fair trade is an option because it's a better option than the real greedy, fight for profit thing. So I think that connection, no? There is no, we are not telling the artisans a lie and say, you can sit down and do your same things, no? There is a discussion in Peru, I'm sure in other countries where they do crafting, of course, is about that you need to do the same things for years. Well, we don't do that. We work with them, respect the heritage, respect what is the cultural issues. We do that. No, we respect it too. No, I don't know if that kind of answer your question of your question. No.
Yes, it does answer the question because, like, it's a very interesting dynamic because there are so many underlying issues. Like there could be some sort of cultural issues, and like you said, the idea of future-proofing a lot of these ideas and these artisans' work, because the use of technology, the use of innovation, in order to ensure that they're on top of their game and not really losing out. And it unfortunately, for the better or worse, the world is in a very cutthroat market sort of situation where competition is so vast, and it's constantly growing. And this idea that everybody's going to take a piece of the pie and eat out of there is very difficult to fathom. So it is great that you are working with these entities regularly on a daily basis, trying to help them continue to grow. And it is very also fascinating that not everyone wants to continue doing the same thing for a long time. And there's that idea. So how do you consistently incentivize that for them? Being able to, what sort of platform, apart from, like you mentioned earlier, you take them to the international stage and be able to do that. But do you also ensure that, these products are available overseas and everything?
Yeah. As traders, what we do is basically the connection is this, no? We find a fair trader buyer or a conventional market. We offer a collection of products, or they say, can you do this? And we say, okay, let's see, we do it. So we work with the artisans in building that product. Let me give an example. 2010, about that, 2010, 2009, UNICEF contacted us to do an alpaca shawl, and there was 10 years ago, so we just start working in artisan weavers. We were looking, and we travel and look for the areas where they do a lot of weaving, and then we talk to them, and basically what they used to do is in the loom, only small throws or shells for the small market, the local market. and we train them to make the shawl that UNICEF wants. And then there was like we trained one, and then we trained the trainer, and then we went, and then we have like in that moment, we have like 10 or 11 weavers doing a product that was like a 5,000 shawls for UNICEF. And then we come 11,000. So the idea to work in massive production of handcrafted products is the most important thing is because there is where you get enough money for us, enough money for the artisans, and enough money for the small communities. So and then you need to keep that going, because it's not like you get the sale for 3 months to UNICEF, an order for 3 months, and then you disappear. No. We wanted to have sustainable income for them, sustainable income, of course, for Allpa. And with UNICEF, we worked with them like 5-6 years in different projects where there was a massive production of shawls, different colors now was, and then it was the bracelets. There is the idea, that is the way, in our opinion, in how to you create sustainability. So we go to, like I told you, the first and present products, but also connected with organizations or companies who wants to work for years with us. A difference than conventional market, fair traders, buyers are more loyal to, to the south, to the producers, to the artisans. They are committed. Now they're having like monetary funds for the producers, since they cannot make big orders because of the conditions now. So that is not done by conventional market, So that is a big difference. But sustainability, growth in the artisans, keep fighting to preserve the handcraft. It has to do with selling, with presenting things that the market wants. We don't sell products in Peru. Everything is exported. We export. We are not a local market. We are in a different business. You wanted to do.
That's actually wonderful. It's a very nice, engaging platform for them, and it gives them that visibility at a global level. And that's a great initiative, Luis. Thank you so much for sharing that. And now at this point, I actually want to go to a different part of your life and your journey with the World Fair Trade Organization, where you're part of the board. So could you tell us what it's like to be a part of the board of the World Fair Trade Organization, and what sort of impact you carry over there? Because being from a business that actually works as a fair trade organization and having all that ground level experience can be so impactful at an hierarchical level. So what is your experience like, and how important is that representation at a board such as the World Fair Trade Organization?
A lot of work. It's a lot of work. Well, to be honest, the funny thing is that Allpa and some organizations in fair trade, and we're looking at fair trade in a very modern way now. We're looking more like fair trade for us is not only a social enterprise, it's also a business enterprise, because we are traders. Trade, to me, the word trade is very important, because identify that we are not non-governmental organizations, and we, this is to us, thinking about innovation, thinking about design products that challenge the other products that are in the conventional market is very important for the survival also of fair trade, because the international consumers that look at fair trade, looking at what products you have. What is behind the product? What is the social meaning of behind the product? But at the same time, the new consumer interested in social issues is looking at a beautiful product, beautiful design. There is not much money in the market to say, I will buy anything now. I will think twice into what I get, no? So for this, we need to impact them in the social issues and show that this product is made in a nice, beautiful design, color, the quality is excellent. And I think that is one of the things that some of us in not only Allpa, it's other organizations in Latin America, in the world, they bring that to fair trade. And that was when I was elected in 2015. I think that was a message for, and also a work for Allpa or for me to say, bring that to the global board. And I think we cannot succeed. We have a Lima conference last year. There was more 400 organizations came to Lima to celebrate fair trade with WFTO and other organizations. We have building a bigger organizations in Peru, in Latin America, and the people are more, the organizations are very interested in the market trends, what is the country, sustainability is very important. And I think that was a challenge, no? I am part of WFTO Global. I was part of the Charter of Fair Trade that was created in 2018. I was part of the working group. I work with International Fair Trade Towns too. There was kind of a, you have a mission and you have an idea, let's keep doing it, and the job is to make sure that more people participate in activities of fair trade. I'm sorry. And also that because this is the way their voices are heard. You don't impress upon a global organization with only talking in the washrooms or talking in the locker talk. You impress upon this organization when you speak in the table at the same level with ideas, you challenge them. And that is, I think is that allow the voices of producers and artisans and small traders to be heard in the global. I think that is kind of the contribution that we have, and I'm part of that, no, in the global board. It's still there for more years there, no. But I mean, it's a good thing because it gives the opportunity to other members. They kind of they're shy about presenting their opinions to do it, no. So you said, if he's a big mouth, I can be a big mouth too.
That's a good way of putting it, actually, and very interesting. And that leads me to wondering, what do you see as the opportunities for fair trade as a movement to continue expanding? Because I guess the truth is there are so many different arenas that it can go into, and I'm sure it's being looked at so many different levels. But in terms of expansion, in terms of reaching out to more levels of producers, for the lack of a better explanation, is what are the sort of opportunities? And perhaps while you answer that, are there any key major overarching challenges for that, and what is being done?
Well, I do. Okay. There is a step that WFTO is doing now that is reaching a new generation of consumers who wants a more assertive position from us as a global issue, no? And I think they're doing it. They have involved not only because of COVID-19, but because we realize as an organization, because we are a global movement, one of the things for me is that it's not south and north. I mean, the pandemic shows that we are not south and north, that we show there is a global world, it's a global crisis that need to be approached in a global. The interconnection is manifest clearly with this pandemic. no? The traveling and all that. And we need to solve it as a global organization. That's one of the issues to me. I, I consider that presenting as a two poles, that they can work together. No, to me, it's not that the South and North work together. To me, is that we need to see the movement as a global social movement. They need to care of each other in a way that make us advance sustainable. First, WFTO is well, we have 30 years in this business. WFTO is 30 years last year. And we think that in the way we approach the consumers is in a more understandable way for them. That is digital, that is webinars, that is presenting them, that connect with other organizations, Fashion Revolution, you know, other Fair Trade International. We don't want to be the club of friends, connect a small organization, a sectarian group that think that is right, but doesn't connect with the rest. So you can own, you don't own the truth, you know? I think there is a good thing that's happening with us now is that we're gonna connect it with other organizations. We participate in other things. We have a very lively Facebook, Instagram, tweet, and I think that help us into the members also. We are almost 400 to connect, to realize that we are a global movement. You know, it's not, there are issues about how can you present your ideas about fair trade to the same people every year. You break that. You go over the 9 dots and you said, okay, I'm going to work with Fashion Revolution. I repeat, I work with other organizations in the world, you know, about the climate change. That is a very important issue, and need to, that we do it, but we are not conscious that we're doing it, you know? So that is something that to me is different now from 5 years ago, from 3 years ago, no? We decided to do that. Let's just present ourselves to the world, no?
Yeah, that is very interesting. And I guess you're right. As time keeps turning, there are going to be more and more different sort of tangents that we go into addressing different contextual problems. So now I think a lot of people within the Fair Trade Organization are working on addressing COVID and supporting a lot of producers at the ground level. And I suppose climate change is that big, overarching and looming giant over our heads. So that is something that is worked on as well. And just another thing about this intersection of climate change, sustainability with fair trade. And this is a question I actually posed to a different speaker earlier. But one of the things that needs to be looked at, and that's the argument presented, is a lot of people are trying to move into more responsible consumption, but some people are moving into more sustainable consumption. And that doesn't always mean that they're trying to pick fair trade products or, you know, products that are ethically sourced, as opposed to longer supply chains, locally owned businesses, etc. So what is that sort of appeal to bridge that gap, to try to intersect that sort of market or that type of consumer?
We are in a discussion even in Allpa, an organization, about what makes, we are preparing for, you know, for a plan for 5 years now, no? And we're questioning what we're doing and what we can do better, no? One of the issues is sustainability and traceability, because both are really connected, no? So how can you talk about the climate change or the climate crisis or the climate situation, because there are different, you know, names that they have. But the thing is, what is our contribution into, at the same time that we are being sustainable, we need to be traceable too. What is the product that we create is not affecting, you know, the conditions of the world now and in a climate level, no? What is, after we wash it, okay, we use biodegradable products to washing the textiles. Okay, but where did that goes? You know, so it's a question we do. Okay, we use solar panels. Okay, they contribute to communities in the Andes, no, in the mountains, even to have water or warm water for taking a shower, for washing things and all that. Okay, fine, but we need to be conscious in what we do. And we were discussing the other day is what is the water when we wash the process of making silver or making jewelry silver, what is the water goes? So we said we need, there are two connections for us. They are the connected traceability with sustainability. So we're gonna continue in be conscious, in presenting conscious that this is what we do. So we wanted to have like to scan a product where you can get the information and the whole thing, how can you trace it, and that protects the environment what you do. You know, so to me that is the connection. Recycling in Latin America is growing, but it's not in the way it's growing, I believe, in Asia or is in Africa. There is because it's a different things, you know, is each region has or each country has their own way of developing or looking for ways to get by. No, recycling in Lima or in Peru is different from Africa or Asia, I believe. There is more, also this amount of people too, you know what? Because you can get products in Lima, but not many products that want to be recycled because you need to create an industry for that. So we kind of convincing some members if they wanted to try that, you know, because it's part of the climate situation too, no? Recycling is part of that. So, but I wanted to tell you, Pavi, that there is to us, the sustainability, the traceability, there are two things that they go together, no? More in the climate change.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on there. It is very, very true. If we're not able to measure and track and trace our impact and what our actual contributions are, how are we to address the larger issue? And yeah, it's knowing what we're doing in order to make sure we at our own levels are able to create that change, which is fabulous. Very, very, very well put together, Luis. Amazing answers, honestly. And I guess the two more things that I'd like to touch on before we end this, and one is you'd mentioned earlier about stories about the consumers and the producers that you'd like to talk about, and is there any highlight or success stories of working with these artisans, working with these workshops that has completely changed and transformed how things were for them?
There are many stories. There are many stories, to be honest, that it make us proud. And Pabit, we are gonna be the leadership of Allpa is two ladies. They're still working. We are part of the creating the team that will take over. No, we are not spring chicken people. We are little. In the fall, but we are building a new team to continue Allpa because it's not a company that will finish with the people who created or of the founders, the two women, Maria and Nelly. But the thing is, in one of the things that we remember what we have done, we see some artisans, they start with us, they export now, they have their own workshops, the people who live around them are well taken care of, but doesn't finish, no? The challenge of COVID is that you can work 50 years, create a company, and then everything is done, no? So it's a big challenge. The example that I give you before the UNICEF, is one. There was another one with ceramics of Chulucana. Chulucanas is a small town north of Peru, very almost not too close, but kind of close to Ecuador. They make a beautiful ceramic, the Chulucana ceramic that is smoked by mango leaves. The process is beautiful. I can send you information of that. You can see maybe in the picture that I send you some of the things there. But the thing is, like 20 years ago, there came a client from the United States who wants to buy big containers of ceramics of Chulucanas, no? Their design, our designs and everything, and we went crazy. So, because they wanted like 10 containers in the process for 2 months. And the way that was done, the ceramic was done by hand, pallet, no? In other parts of the world, the ceramics are done one by one. There are artifacts, there are artisans, they make for the local markets. And we say, how are we gonna do 10 containers in 2 or 3 months? We're talking about thousands, okay? So we said, with this, I wasn't there, I was in Allpa in that moment. It was like 20, 25 years ago. And then the idea came to bring from other parts of Peru, handcrafted artisans that use the wheel turn. It was not in that town. In that town, everything was hand and pallet. So we brought artisans from Ayacucho and Cusco. They use the turn wheel, and we trained them. And instead of doing 3 bases a day, they did it 20. They did it 50. So we have the opportunity to have that small town change. In that time, we worked with 15 workshops to create containers when living. The containers were living. And then created a change because we didn't affect the cultural issue there. There was still you doing the same things, but in the moment when you want to create more ceramics, you need to use the wheel turn, no? So from that moment, the building of the small town, the building of these groups of artisans, they have the chance to purchase land, to get the workshops and their houses, and then they also to provide good education to their kids and the people who work with them, because in that moment was not only 7 workshops, was 7 workshops that allow people to work for them, 10 or 15 people. Women enter this process of making this because before was not opportunity, was the men who did the whole thing and the woman was at home. So the woman now in doing all the process of the production, because there was a lot ceramics to do, painting in some cases, polishing the ceramics, created an environment of progress, and in the building of a line of production that lasted for a while. We still selling that kind of ceramics. More modern designs, without taking away the cultural way of doing it, of course, but a more modern design. That is one of the experiences that I kind of rescue, in what your question, is one of them, one of them. The UNICEF was another one, and then we have the one with NUSA. NUSA was Dutch organization. They sell bracelets with chunks, and then we were able to from this small example of bracelet, we created for 2 or 3 years the possibility to work with 11 workshops. 11 workshops means 11 workshops with 10, 15 people each one. That is the impact of fair trade. Good salaries, sustainable, because you can pay a good salary for 2 months, but what about the rest of the year? You get, you get good money, and then 2 months is gone. You need to make the commitment, and I think that makes it's a discussion that I have with Erin, is you need to commit yourself to make these works sustainable in time. In time. It's not, you kind of a little bit of BSing people saying, okay, you are good for 3 months. And even the artisans tell you, no, yeah, you count 3 months and you're gone.
Yeah.
No, that is not whatsoever. And I think what is to make us sustainability in your mission, your vision, and to provide them from work is what make you a social enterprise too.
Well said. Fabulous, fabulously put. Um, yeah, that definitely is very inspiring on how, you know, one idea can be picked out of different contexts, brought here and innovate. And like you mentioned earlier, innovation at the core of what Allpa does. And it really does help us solve a lot of different challenges. And I guess being innovative actually allows you to, you know, think on the fly, think of more novel approaches, being able to continue to ensure a sustainable ecosystem for everybody, and as well as, you know, addressing all these global challenges. And this is very inspiring and an absolute pleasure to speak with you, Lewis. Um, and I just have one final question, and this is sort of your closing remarks. But in a span of, say, 10 years, what is the hope that you'd like to, or what do you hope to see for communities in Peru, globally, and even the social enterprise movement as it is?
Mm-hmm. 10 years.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's a bit of a heavy question.
No. I took the notes. I took some notes because you sent me the questions and I took some notes, but I mean, sometimes the conversations that you have are kind of a question me, you know, so that the notes that I took are reliable now after this conversation, you know, I mean, is something like that. And because I want to be the most honest in what I presented, and the more also because this is an opportunity for us to expand. No,
Absolutely.
so it's good. We used to work a lot. Allpa used to work for Oxfam, Australia, in the Candigar Fund, and they closed, no? So we have a connection with Australia from years. No? It was one of the first organizations to start purchasing things from us, no? There was a GEPA, Puente, other organizations, or 10,000 villages in the United States, but Oxfam, Australia was too. So the connection with Australia is is good, and also because it's a beautiful country too, you know, I mean, beautiful people. The melting pot too, melting pot. Australia is, you know, and it's good. Let me see my notes. We talk about sustainability, see more, our communities, our organizations need to take the challenge, continue to take the challenge to be more updated in what the market, a market with consumers who are social responsible consumers and fair trade consumers, not the market in general, you know, to be more updated and to be more aggressive or assertive and to take the challenge. I think if we continue what we're doing as WFTO, we continue what we're doing as a WFTO in Peru, in Allpa, and other organizations, no, in Uruguay, in Chile, in Ecuador, in Australia, or in any part of the world, and we sustain our uh, um, our practice, I think we can see a lot of things gone. The challenges are there. The thing is, we need to take the bull by the horns and say, this is what we do. Some of our organizations, they are more aware now that they should have done that before. You know, it's difficult to get rid of the old practices. You know, it's very difficult. You're comfortable, you know? But then this kind of COVID crisis, this pandemic challenged all of us and said, what we do now? So the digital market that was never seen as a possibility because it was seen far away, too complicated, no, too expensive. No, this is, well, hold it. This is the only way, you know, to get It is now. So you should have done it before. But I mean, it's not to blame people, but to see this as an alternative. And a lot of organizations are looking at that and then taking the challenge. The other thing is, let's finish with the conversation between ourselves. It's good, but it's not enough. No, let's open the conversation to all other social forces that are involved in good, you know, organizations. They are fighting for against the climate crisis. Organizations, because our movement is diverse, and we need to accept it as that, you know, and then take it together. I give you as an example. We discuss and we approve the northern producers. We when we created what was created WFTO or fair trade was to help producers in the south. Okay, but it's good. But there are northern producers that are affected before this COVID and now more, that we need to also work with them and accept it as a possibility. So in WFTO, we passed a resolution, you know, in New Delhi. It was passed in 2017, and because it was the right thing to do. And also create alliances with people in the north. We don't want people, because it's a global movement, we don't want other organizations said, when we are in a crisis, I mean, northern organizations said, so we are in a crisis and we're helping some producers only. No, we are in this together. So it's one of the things with the dialogue, you know, let's work together in this. I think we all benefit from this thing, no? So if we see in these two directions, no? First is to take the challenge of the new consumer and what the crisis has brought, and also the break the circle of talking about amongst ourselves and talk to other organizations and be more wide, no, in our thinking. Basically that.
Yeah, that's a great take to end on, actually, because like you mentioned, it is absolutely important to break that sort of barrier. And you had mentioned earlier in the conversation, a situation like a pandemic, or situation like climate change, anything that rethink makes us rethink our reality, gets us to realize that there is no boundary, there is no fine line there. We're all in this together. We all are going to be affected in one way or another, some more, some less, but we are affected nevertheless. And it's important to stick together, collaborate, and work on it as a unit, as opposed to a single polarized movement. So that absolutely makes sense. Thank you so much, Luis. It was absolutely amazing. Really, really great insight that you've shared. And we wish you best of luck with Allpa, with the World Fair Trade Organization, and look forward to catching up and communicating further. Thank you so much.